Hello everyone, I'm Brian. Today I'm going to be reacting to In Deep Sleep, what proof do we have of awareness of nothing? Awareness of nothing. If there's no recollection of such, which amazingly, which is what I was talking about maybe a week ago, is that the fact of about memory. So anyways, let's go ahead and hear what Swami here has to say.
The second question? On the question number 2, does it?
Right. Nick Gallagher. I have an intellectual understanding of how consciousness is the ever-present, unchanging reality. And it's because of this that we are able to experience the changing nature of outside phenomena as they present themselves within awareness. The analogy of deep sleep and dreaming is often used. My experience of deep sleep is not that of an unchanging awareness. I seem to disappear in deep sleep. When I wake up, I realize I am still alive, but I have been sleeping when I have thoughts and look at the clock, seeing that time has passed. I don't feel aware during periods of deep sleep. Therefore, it seems to me that awareness is much more reliant upon my physical brain than Vedanta claims it to be. My real-world experience is that when my brain is not turned on in deep sleep, I am unaware. What proof do I have that I am aware of nothing, as I have heard you say before, if I have no recollection or experience of this nothingness? And there's one other question.
Okay.
From Sokin Sarkar. If deep sleep is the experience of absence, then what is death?
That's Anyways, I was actually genuinely thinking about this earlier today because I was thinking about creating a video that's not a reaction-based video, but more I want to make it an argument for something in terms of consciousness and memory. And I would love to hear what people's opinions are, because again, this is throwing out there playing devil. If you heard the phrase, the devil's advocate, essentially just playing the opposite, just to see what the counter arguments are. Because this is a great way to collect more information, to destroy arguments, is by throwing, at least for me anyways, I don't know for everyone else, but just to throwing a counter argument out there and to see if any of the counter arguments makes any more sense. But yeah, really weird. I was genuinely, I swear, sometimes, well then I do think about these things sometimes, so it's like a lot of times, not a lot of times, sometimes, sorry, what I think about, and then the next video I just so happen to pick is very much related. Or some of the things that I was just scrolling, I was like, well, this one looks pretty interesting, you know, brain, consciousness, mind, brain, or else. And then I look at the thumbnails first, because it does usually have enough information on there. If it doesn't, then I look at the title. That's the first thing that came, yeah, there you go, the thumbnail was the first thing I saw. Then I read the title of the video. I was like, oh, well, that's what I was thinking of. Kind of funny. Because yeah, he does a lot of thumbnails that are pretty good. I'm terrible at thumbnails. I didn't even try. I need to try, honestly. But yeah, usually he does pretty good with thumbnails, and I look at that first. Again, if the thumbnail itself does not have any information to it, I do look at the titles. So I do have to, man, there's a lot. I say a lot of things, honestly, and I never do it. I procrastinate a lot. It is terrible. But anyways, let's see. About in terms of what's the difference between death and deep sleep. Nothing and everything. Nothing is different because it's just still pure awareness, consciousness there, aware of nothing, and everything because, you know, you still wake, the one you don't wake up, the other you do wake up. Anyways, let's go ahead and continue to see what it has to say.
All right. So this is a probing question on the Vedanta position on deep sleep. In deep sleep, so here we are aware there are objects, jada, and we are aware of it. Suppose all objects were taken away. There is an absence of objects. I don't see, hear, smell, taste, touch. I don't think, I don't remember, I don't feel, I don't desire, I don't hate. I don't understand, I don't remember, I don't forget. None of them, all of them are shut down. Am I the awareness gone? Or am I there but there's no object for awareness? So here, right in front of me, right here, there is a lot of light. You can't see, it just seems blank. But now see, doesn't it shine? Golden? If I remove it, is it shining here? No, right in between. Nothing. But if I put it there, it shines. You're not in seeing my hand. You say, but you're showing your hand. I'm showing the light reflected from my hand. If I remove it, the light is right there, but you don't see it at all. You need an object to reflect light. On that analogy, what I'm saying is, what Vedanta says is, you are prakasha, you are awareness. But in deep sleep, because the senses are shut down, because the mind is shut down, there's nothing to be aware of. There's this blankness. Now, the problem here is, our idea of awareness is so connected with the mind. When the mind shuts down, we feel, I am not there. This has to be understood in depth. Otherwise, we will say that deep sleep means nothing, coma means nothing, general anesthesia means nothing. I was speaking with one of the leading neuroscientists in the world today, Dr. Anil Seth, just the other day. He is the head of the neuroscience department in the University of Sussex.
Real quick, actually, it doesn't mean nothing. I was thinking about that. It means reduced awareness, in my opinion. So, for example, like when we're asleep, we are still technically aware. Our mind is still aware of the surroundings. And what I mean by this, and I've explained this before, but for example, if a loud noise happens, some people will sleep through that. Some people, you can smack them in the face and they will still be passed out asleep. Not because you knocked them out, but because they are an extremely heavy sleeper. But there are some people where you open the door, they wake up. You're like, I'm trying to sneak in the house, and how did you hear that? It's like, I'm a light sleeper. Even though they're in deep sleep, even though maybe they're dreaming, they just because they hear a sound, they're very aware of their surroundings. They're very light sleeper and deep sleepers. I guess that's what you could label them as. Light sleepers will wake up as long as the sound gets to their ears, they wake up. Or if they feel that the temperature change, maybe, I don't know for that one. Maybe if you touch them a little bit and they wake up because they sense it. So then you have people, of course, where you can drop a freaking pan right next to their ears and they can sleep right through it. So it's not necessarily that they're gone. It's just that it's the amount of awareness. It's different from consciousness. I guess I can't use awareness because I don't want to get that confused. It's the different amount of. I don't want to say consciousness either. It's not, because these are words I would use typically, but since this is in terms of Advaita Vedanta, I don't want to use those words. But it's basically how, I guess, how sensitive your senses are. How sensitive your senses are along with your mind to the external world. I'm trying to think. But yeah, it's not like it means nothing and that it doesn't exist. It's a little bit different for everyone. You are still technically aware. It just depends on the person, really.
And a very, very nice conversation. Very nice conversation. One of the arguments he used, and any neuroscientist these days, most neuroscientists will use, is that in deep sleep, in general anesthesia, you're not there. Consciousness disappears, the self disappears. You're just not there. We can knock out all consciousness. By the way, when he used the language when the brain is turned off in deep sleep. Brain is not turned off in deep sleep. Mm-hmm. And Dr. Anil Seth also said, every neuroscientist knows this. Plenty of activity goes on in the brain. Generally, turning off would mean death. But even neuronal activity, plenty of neuronal activity goes on in deep sleep. Much less so maybe in coma, different kinds of coma. So brain is not turned off. That's also an interesting argument. If consciousness is a product of brain activity, there's plenty of brain activity in deep sleep. There is also brain activity in general anesthesia. Plenty of it. All right, that's coming from the physical side. From the inner side, what we will say? We will say that what general anesthesia does, what deep sleep does, what some forms of coma will do, only some forms. Other forms of coma, the person is fully aware inside. People don't know. Sometimes horribly, people are aware under general anesthesia.
It's kind of scary.
Including operation. They just can't say anything. They're being cut and pierced, and but they can't say anything because all the motor organs are frozen. But you're aware inside. So,
Real quick, I've heard of these things. Again, I don't know. Like, I don't know if it's the movies or I've heard rumors of this. I don't know if it's true. It can kind of make sense a little bit. And I've also heard like general anesthesia is supposed to put you under, but I've also heard some people say like when they're awake during the surgeries they could feel everything. And the reason why they put you under is because it's very painful. So if you're awake during this and you can't, oh my gosh, and you're feeling everything, that is really bad. That is bad. And I feel for those people who, again, I don't know if it's true or not. It's just the only reason why is because I guess I never witnessed it for one, but at the same time, things can be said enough times where it's like, maybe it's true now. A rumor or a lie could have been said so many times that eventually that it might become true. It might be perceived to be true. Let me put it that way. Because it's like you've heard of this and you heard people spoke of this, but you never witnessed it, but it's been spoken so much and said so much that it's got to be true, right? Kind of like that. Like it's just been spoken so much that it has to be true then. I just don't know if it is or isn't, but that's scary, man. Could you imagine going under it and all of a sudden you're aware and feeling everything?
even assuming that all objects of awareness are gone, that's what general anesthesia does. It does not knock you out. It knocks out every jada padartha, every object of awareness. There is no pain or pleasure. There are no perceptions, no memories, no ideas. Why this is a difficult thing for modern consciousness studies people to understand is because they do not distinguish between consciousness and mind. Certainly the mind is switched off in deep sleep. Certainly the mind is switched off in general anesthesia. By the way, another thing, brain and consciousness. You know, you can cut into the brain and be fully conscious at the same time, and you won't feel anything because there are no nerves endings in the brain. So many, I heard, it sounds gruesome, but many brain operations are done when you are fully conscious, and you won't feel anything at all. In fact, the neuroscientist wants you, the surgeon wants you to be conscious during brain operation, so that if you cut something, did you lose the power to speak? Did you suddenly become blind? Did you do this? They'll be aware that you're not removing something very essential. Huh?
Yeah, I heard definitely was true. It's where what they'll do is, like, if you're a violinist, like you play the violin, they'll ask you while surgery to play the violin because they're doing stuff in your brain and they want to make sure that you're still capable of doing what you got to do and they're not accidentally cutting something that's not supposed to be cut. Which I don't know how that works because once you cut it, you just glue it back together. But yeah, like that's so sci-fi like in my mind. Like, you just imagine just walking into the surgery room again. Obviously you can't, but I'm just saying, imagine you see this you're in the side view. You see the person being operated there, and then a doctor on like a stool, doing like this inside, and you see the brain, the skull splayed open and the flesh open, and then you see the guy cut. Then you see the violinist just kind of looking at you to the side, playing the violin. It's like, oh my god, that's like horror movie right there. But it's true, and in terms of them playing or doing whatever it is. Again, I've heard it many times, but I've heard from doctors say this too. It's like, yeah, they want you to do this, and it's just to make sure that they don't. Which I don't know how that works, but if they want to make sure that you can talk, that you can still play the music and all these kind of things, because once they cut it, I don't know if there's some kind of brain glue or something like that. It's like, oh, well, that's the wrong one. Let me reconnect that connector. It's like, I don't know if that's how the brain works. Don't think so, but.
So, this is the crucial answer. Why we feel, he writes, I feel I don't exist during deep sleep. I don't feel that I was aware of nothing in deep sleep, because two reasons. One reason is, what you think of as awareness or consciousness is the mind. That was not there in deep sleep. That was definitely switched off or in a hibernating state. And that's why you felt I was not there. If one does the Drigdrishya Vivek or the Panchakosha Vivek or Avasthatraya Vivek, any of these Vedantic procedures thoroughly, then one will begin to get an appreciation of what is meant by consciousness apart from mind. Consciousness in itself apart from objects. Then at least the intellectual possibility that in deep sleep I am still there. Even if you feel. You see, when you say, I felt I was not there in deep sleep, who says that? Mind. The moment the mind wakes up, it says, I was not there. Of course you are not there. You are not there. But that doesn't mean I was not there. I, the witness of the mind. I am witness of the absence of the mind. I am witness of presence of the mind. The absence of the mind was also witnessed by me. I was there. The mind says, I did not know anything there. But if the mind was switched off, what is it that did not know anything there? Things like this. So our way of thinking is, I woke up and I saw time has passed, so I must have slept. I was in deep sleep. We don't do that. Even the person who wrote it doesn't do that. You might see the clock and say, oh, I slept for an hour. I slept for 2 hours. I fell asleep. But just to the intuition of having fallen asleep, we don't need to look at the clock. You have a clear feeling that there was a moment of gap in between. Even the most inadvertent sleep, you felt I slept off. And then I'm awake now. What noticed that sleeping? You see, if there was no experience of deep sleep, we would not even talk about it. Every civilization, every culture in the world has words for deep sleep, has descriptions of the experience of deep sleep. It's an experience. If it is an experience, then consciousness must be there. Deep sleep is a good way of distinguishing consciousness from mind. If you think there is nothing in deep sleep, you're talking about the mind. If you understand that I am there as bare awareness in deep sleep, as a something in deep sleep, that much you are aware, that much you can at least say, then you are aware of the distinction between yourself and the mind. Another reason why deep sleep seems so mysterious and nothing, because our idea of something isn't something, object, jada. If all jada is removed, then nothing. So there was nothing. Even that experience of nothing, it's an experience. It's not an absence of experience, it's an experience of absence. It will not be resolved so easily, because our testimony seems to run, our experience seems to run contrary to the claims of Vedanta.
This is where I was thinking a little bit earlier, but I didn't quite get to that because I don't think he pointed out quite. It's the sheer fact that he's saying that if you remove essentially the senses of objects and such, so like if we no longer have the feeling touch, we no longer have our five senses. Just make it quick that way. We no longer have five senses. We are still aware that we are aware of the absence of senses. But my argument would be, what if we never had any senses? And I've said this some time ago. Imagine if there was someone who was born and their brain was just immediately put into a jar, but kept alive, absent of all senses. What would would it even know it's experiencing anything? We know it's experiencing something. Well, at least we think we would. I guess we could, because again, the brain has no pain or any kind of, and it has no senses anyway, so we can plug up probes and stuff into it and detect brain activity. I don't know if there would be or would not be, because considering it has not experienced anything at all, would it have any brain activity? Again, under the assumption that you can remove this brain and it has no experience of anything, so it's literally just a brand new brain that's, let's say, is grown in a petri dish. A brain that's grown in a petri dish, and we put it into in a jar to keep it alive. It's a live brain, fully functional, but it never experienced anything. And this is where I kind of would like to ask him is, would it be conscious? Would it know it's conscious? Is it even well, I guess in terms of Advaita Vedanta, everything is, there is only consciousness. So that would be kind of I would kind of know the answer to that one. But in terms of what his argument over here is the fact that, he's talking about removing senses, but that's also with the idea that we've already experienced something and then we remove the sense. Whereas, how about we remove the sense at the very beginning where it has not experienced anything, and then what would that be like? Would it be just constant deep sleep? Because, in my opinion, again, I don't know if this is going to be true or not, that our dream state depends on the wake state. Because I think the things that we dream about all exist in the world that we've experienced, and I don't believe anything in our dream is something that we have not seen. So you could say, well, I've never seen this dragon dog before in real life. But you experience what a dragon is like, you experience what a dog is like, but your brain made an amalgamation of the dragon dog. While maybe a dragon dog doesn't exist in real life, but the dog and the dragon itself separately does exist, and you're just combining the two. But again, that would be my kind of question. I would be kind of curious about that. Like, a petri dish brain just grown without any senses. I had another argument, but I can't remember what it was. So we will continue.
Vedanta says our experience seems to run. My experience seems to tell me there was nothing in deep sleep. Vedanta says you have to think a little more clearly. In waking, not in deep sleep. You have to think about deep sleep a little more clearly and keep thinking about it. You will begin to see it is also a kind of experience, an experience of absence. Waking and dreaming are experience of presence. Gross objects present, waking. Subtle objects present, dreaming. No object present, deep sleep. The blankness itself can be considered an object. Some schools of Vedanta, Panchadashi considers the blankness itself to be an object. Avabuddham tada tamaha. In deep sleep you experienced. Oh, what did I experience? An object. Oh, what object was there in deep sleep? Tamaha, darkness. Tama bodho bhavet smritihi. Panchadashi says that the experience of blankness in deep sleep is like a memory when I wake up. When I wake up, there's a memory, quote unquote memory. Memory requires a mind, but mind was sleeping there, so it can't be technically memory. But something was experienced, and a trace of it was left in Ajnana itself, in the Anandamaya Kosha, in the Karana Sharira, which the mind grasps and says, there was a phase after dreaming, there was a complete blankness. That is deep sleep. And that's an experience. The consciousness was there. And if you cannot accept consciousness in deep sleep, then you are unable to distinguish between mind and consciousness. You're still stuck on mind. What is the difference between deep sleep and death? In death, one might be fully conscious. Near-death experiences show that one might be conscious when there is physical, biological death. In death, it might be like a dream. Experiences might be there. Death might be like deep sleep. And then we awaken from deep sleep. And then you are in heaven or the other place. Other experiences will come.
Well,
So those are also experiences. So death is not, might be like deep sleep for a while, but might be like dream also for a while. Post-death.
I'll make a kind of argument to that one actually. Only reason why is because, again, if you look at, according to some scientists, or maybe all scientists, or brain scientists, should I say, dream scientists, we have 2 to 3 dreams every night, supposedly, but we don't remember them. So, to counter argue what he said there about like the other place, or maybe it's a dream, we'd have to have memory for that. Again, I look at it like the sheer fact that I don't know. I'm kind of curious about a counter argument for this, because without memory, we have it's irrelevant, I guess, of what's going on. Because I don't know how to make this argument, because it can go both ways easily. It's irrelevant that things occur if we don't remember it. The only reason why the only reason why this is kind of hard. The only reason why the things that occur mean something is because of memory. Without memory, events means nothing. And without memory, were there any events in the first place? And my mind can go both, well, maybe both ways. In terms of, yes it can and no it cannot. Because we may be, I guess it'd be like I guess I guess the famous saying, like, was it a goldfish? The memory of a goldfish? They say the memory of a goldfish is like 3 seconds, but some scientists say that's not true. But anyways, relevant of that, it's just the sheer fact that we're always ever living in the moment. And that is all we have. Meaning that I would have never known where this pen came from. And I would have never known why I'm holding this pen like this. And I would have not known that I've said, why am I holding this pen like this, forever and ever, because I'm like, why am I holding this pen? Why am I holding this pen? Why am I holding this pen? Because I have no memory of what I just said. Every single thing that I say is only ever exists at that moment that I said it, and nowhere else. Because no memory, no recollection of it. No way for me to retain that information, to have this continuation. Like, why am I holding this pen? Oh yeah, I picked it up. Let me put it down. And I remember that. I know why I picked it up and put it down, and all of this, because of the memory. Without the memory, I'm sitting here like, what is this pen? Why am I holding it? Why am I staring at it? And I will continue to forever do that, because I have no idea. I will never ever know that I'm holding this pen, except for the very moment that I'm holding this pen. And then when that moment's gone, I don't know why I'm holding this pen. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say there. Memory is amazingly important, I suppose. Again, this has nothing to do with enlightenment, though. But man, it's difficult to make this argument, because it's just so hard to try to present it. At least for me, for now, I'm every time I think about this, and every time I watch a video that kind of relates to the memory or consciousness or the brain, I kind of think about it a little bit more, and I try to find a way to better present the argument. So hopefully I can hear what your opinions are, and if you have some understanding of what I'm saying, I don't mind you posting your opinion about what I said. But Because like the only reason why we know of deep sleep is because of memory. If there's no memory, we will never know that we're ever in deep sleep. We'll never know that we ever dream. We never know that we're ever awake. We don't know of any previous again, without memory, the only thing that ever exists is the here and now, and never and nothing else. There's no such thing as the past. The past does not exist. Well, that's very much true. But in terms of continuation, and what I mean by that, it's like why I sat down here, why I pushed record, why I'm talking to a webcam. Why am I talking to the webcam? Why am I talking to a webcam? But but I know why I'm talking to webcam, because I'm doing a reaction video of Swami Sarvarpyananda here in terms of his video about the deep sleep. What proof do we have of awareness of nothing? Because of memory. Memory is the proof that we have of nothingness, of the nothing. Without memory, there's only ever now and nothing else. Do I make sense here, or am I just crazy? Both could be true at the same time, maybe. Anyways, that's my reaction to Swami's video here. If you like my content, please consider subscribing, thumbs up the sign down below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next vid.